Well, hello, Breakfast Club. I hope you're enjoying your coffee. And I'm afraid after I missed last week, I'm back. And I did see uh, Paul's video on Monday, got that video on Monday called The Nuclear Option. I wondered if we were still going to be talking about families and children. But no, we're actually talking about the literal nuclear option. I wanted to pick up first on what you were saying, Paul, about Trump. And I think you are worrying too much. Trump's a prize-winning asshole, but I don't think what he's saying. I think he will say anything to get into the White House, and I don't think it's necessarily going to have much bearing on what he does once he's in there. The other thing is that I think he's basically an isolationist, opposition to free trade. He's okay now been criticising the Iraq War, not unreasonable, but and opposition to immigration, free trade, and so on. I get the impression he's maybe not a complete isolationist, but wants the US to withdraw somewhat from the world stage. So I don't think he's going to be, do anything that precipitous. I mean, it's always possible something happens. He orders a missile launch, but it seems to me it's more likely that would be something like the attack on what I think turned out to be pharmaceutical factories in Somalia that Clinton launched back in the 90s. I think in response to the attempted truck bombing, as I recall, on the World Trade Center. There's a specific issue though with the nuclear weapons is that the president has to, as I understand it, has to order the attack, but it then has to be confirmed in the first instance, by the Secretary of Defense. But also, you have to get everyone along the chain to actually do what they're meant to do. So the president gives the order, sets up the permissive action link, the thing from the nuclear football, but then you still have to get the captain of the submarine or uh, the group captain in an air force base or whatever, and the pilot on the plane to actually release the munition. And if suddenly out of the middle of nowhere came an instruction, would I don't know, would people actually follow through on that? But so much as Trump is obnoxious, I'm not sure that what he's saying now is a great guide to what he would do if he were the president. And also, I don't think he is so rash and stupid that he would, suddenly just decide, even after a major terrorist event, fire a nuclear missile. And I don't think the people around him are not going to go, "Are you really sure about that, Mr. President?" So no, that's not one I'd be hugely worried about, if I'm honest. The what I wanted to go back to, much as I would love to continue slagging off Donald Trump, though, is the issue of disarmament, nuclear disarmament. The I always have this problem with right, everybody says they want a world without nuclear weapons. Quite a lot of people mean it. I'm pretty sure Barack Obama meant it when he said that he wanted a world without nuclear weapons way back when. But then you always there is the sort of unilateralist tendency, which I, which I just find to be so far from realistic. It's not true. I mean, but apart from anything, if you disarm unilaterally, yes, for all that the nuclear weapons are awful and evil and all the rest of it, you're giving up your bargaining chip. One of the ways we've seen the US uh, and Russia and to some other countries to reduce their number of their nuclear stockpiles is to do it slowly and through a process of confidence building and understanding of the other side. You behave unilaterally. Firstly, that looks odd. You become a riskier. You become harder to predict. But also, as soon as you do that, you give up an advantage. It may be that if you like, the P5, the nuclear powers are moving towards having less nuclear weapons. Certainly, that's the trend. It's just going to take a very, very long time, and that might actually be the best way of getting there. But it's not quite as impressive as saying we must get rid of nuclear weapons now. Lapsang tea, by the way. Turns out, although I don't like normal tea, I quite like some other teas, and this Lapsang's really rather nice. So I don't know. I mean, I take everything people say nuclear weapons are awful and waste and all the rest of it. Okay, that's fine, but actually, keeping some may actually be the best way of getting rid of them in the long term. Strange as it sort of sounds. I did kind of want to pick up on what Paul was saying also about Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, the candidate for president. What what actually concerns me more isn't necessarily I don't know. I'm not an expert, but somehow I doubt he'll get elected. But the support for him for what he articulates isn't going to go away either. There seems to be a sizable chunk of people, and in the US, this would be true in Europe as well, who hear what he says and sort of go, yeah, that's the kind of guy we want. What I think where that is going to be more problematic, that tendency to become mobilized in some way, is down the line in congressional elections and elections all the way through the system in the states. That's more of a worry, I think. This brings me on to a final point about you. I've seen a lot of Europeans recently sneering, like, "Oh my God, how can people vote for someone like Donald Trump?" And yes, he is particularly crude and obnoxious, but he is really not particularly different to a lot of what we see in Europe. Look at Hungary, what's going on there with what in the US would be called extremely unconstitutional in terms of the ruling government, but also there are groups who routinely get into parliament in significant numbers who are far worse than anything Trump says. Jobbik in Hungary, Golden Dawn, but then Front National in France, and so on. It strikes me that what's worrying about Trump isn't Trump himself, but he is actually cottoning onto something genuine there. A sort of dissatisfaction with the free market or the pace at which the free market has developed. To an extent, that's the same thing that Bernie Sanders is picking up on, but in a different direction and looking at it, adding to it a whole load of really quite unpleasant racist stuff. Anyway, a bit of a ramble, but there you go. I hope the quality on this is okay. I'm having a bit of a nightmare with technology at the moment. So I've actually got two tablets at the moment which are in for repair. Woo. So I am on the mobile phone, and the camera on this isn't working too well at the moment. So I'm not doing so well. Anyway, I hope everyone's well. And Kate, you are up next.